Welcome to Alpha Wolf Capital. I'm Tim, and I want to personally thank you for stopping by. This channel is designed to help small companies, both public and private, gain exposure with potential consumers, investors, even partners. Take, for example, today's guest, CEO Jeb Besser of Modular Medical Devices, ticker symbol MODD, which is positioned to disrupt the insulin pump market with its next generation pivot patch pump, purpose built for the large segment of insulin dependent diabetics overlooked by traditional solutions. Pivot's tubeless, intuitive design dramatically lowers barriers to adoption, offering advanced insulin therapy that is simpler, more accessible, and more affordable. As the earlier Mod 1 is eclipsed, Pivot's frictionless onboarding and minimal training requirements open the door to a scalable market penetration and payer engagement. For investors, Modular presents a compelling opportunity to capture share and deliver meaningful innovation in a diabetes device market hungry for user-friendly, cost-effective alternatives. Modular Medical is an impact company, and I'm going to let Jeb tell you more about that in just a minute. This is not to be taken as investment advice. I am not a certified financial planner. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. I encourage everyone to do their own due diligence. Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Capital coming at you with a real quick follow-up because this guy's got a busy schedule and I don't know, we're probably getting to an interesting point in time with Modular Medical Devices, MODD being the ticker symbol, and we got Jeb Besser, the CEO, here to give us that update. What's
Okay.
happening?
Well, it is an interesting time. We've made some progress. If you followed our news releases over the last few weeks, we've had our first patient where the Mod 1 pump and deliver insulin. We've gotten our line commissioned in Mexico to make cartridges for Mod 1, which we'll be finishing up in the next few weeks so that we can start converting that line to the tubeless pivot design, which we're going to launch broadly next year. And submit to the FDA for clearance in October. As we've discussed, we're not going to ever broadly launch commercially the Mod 1. Between audience feedback, let's say that, hey, can you please just make it simple for me and just say it's an Omnipod, but it has 3 mLs instead of 2. You can take it off, you can operate it without a cell phone, and it's, really basic one-liner on wow, this product is different. Can you just give me that rather than confusing people with this hybrid product? And look, it was always in the roadmap to get rid of the tube and put the set underneath in the adhesive pad, but it became a bigger priority when it became clear that the supply of those infusion sets was going to be short.
Right.
And because, as I think we've discussed in prior calls, like there's a worldwide shortage of infusion sets right now. And, that's not a problem that can be solved with money. And when the marketing when the marketing is telling you one thing and the supply situation is telling you the same, and at scale, there's a 75% plus savings in doing it the way that we're going to be doing it, and you control your own supply chain, you listen to what the man says. And
Right.
that's what we're doing. So, I think I've shown the pivot before. If you haven't seen it, um, I think I don't know if we have videos up of it yet, but we're very excited about this product. I mean, the usability data we're getting back from our formative studies is off the charts better than the Mod 1.
Okay.
Not to say the Mod 1 was hard to use, it's just to say that a lot of people who haven't adopted pumps have never used an infusion set before. So having one that you simply, take this handy inserter, you put it on the adhesive pad, you click it onto your abdomen or your arm,
You're
you
done.
remove it, you pinch the needle out, you throw it away, sharp safe, and then you click the pump on top. That's just an easier way to live.
Right.
And we're all about making things easier. So we're making progress on Pivot. A lot of people have asked me, what did you mean when you said that you had been building product, quote, at risk down in Mexico before you got the human use clearance? And the answer is we were so confident we were going to get the human use clearance, we started building in advance. And now all that product is money good. Um, so, but we want to be done with that, and we want to start converting the line over to the pivot design, which involves mainly changing fixtures, not a lot of new equipment.
Right.
Because we did incur a 60-day delay trying to get equipment down across the Mexican border because, I think without saying it, I think they've sort of adopted somewhat the same attitude as, what the old story about the Japanese customs inspectors with a load of bananas. Yeah,
I'm
I don't, I don't know if
not
the
familiar.
we're going to come back to them in 60 days and then we'll see if they're still fresh enough. So we definitely had a delay getting the equipment across the border that was unexpected, but it's all there now. And we don't need to change any equipment on the line like that of that size to do pivot.
Okay.
And in fact, just so we're all clear, because a lot of people ask me about, well, what's the risk if you go back to the FDA? So to be clear, we're going back to the FDA with a special 510K in October. And what it's going to ask is the product that you approved last year, we're putting the set underneath. The pumping mechanism's the same. We're not adding any new materials. Usability is going to be as good or better. Is the tubeless product equivalent to the product that you cleared last year? Yes, no. And it's a 30-day review cycle to get questions. And then, how long it will take exactly, that's up to the FDA. But, I think we're sort of thinking probably sometime around year end in terms of getting the pivot clear. So,
Okay.
so when you ask yourself, what is the risk that we have some kind of a problem? So we're not adding new materials. We just did all these tests last year. We passed all of them. Most of these tests are kind of pass, fail, yes, no kind of tests. And the difference between these two products is this one has a bottom plastic plate with a port that goes off to the side that you adhere this tube into. This one has a little plastic interface that points downwards. There you go. That's the difference. It's one plastic piece of the cartridge, and then in controller, you remember or I guess we're now calling it the pump. That's what my marketing people tell me. This piece,
Yeah.
we're gonna commission the controller line sometime in right around the end of Q3, early Q4, and then immediately do a limited launch of Mod 1 just in like 4 to 5 doctors' offices just to get some real world experience with the product and show that we're not afraid to sell it. But this piece, when we commission this for Mod 1, what you have to understand is this is identical in Pivot. There is no change at all except this series of serial numbers.
Okay.
It's the same product. Okay. So from a risk perspective, as soon as we get the pump cleared or the controller line cleared, sometime around the end of Q3, we will be ready for pivot with that line too.
Okay.
So I don't view this as a high risk. There are other things we wanted to put in here, but we're going to resist the temptation to do that and just get tubeless cleared, get on the market, and then immediately afterwards file another 510K, 180-day life, ACE designation, et cetera, which we think we'll get in, some reasonable period of time. So,
Okay.
so I think it is, look, there's a real pardon the pun, pivot coming in the road here when we get to Q1, because I think we'll have everything on the surface that a strategic might be interested in, and we'll be in a position to launch in, 2 to 4 territories just to get it to prove that this almost pumpers audience is real, if that's how things are going to go. So we continue to be really excited about the product. I'd say,
What did you just attend?
ADCES. So yeah, so I guess this is probably the hot off the presses topic that I'd like to spend the most time on, because ADCES is the Diabetes Educators of America conference. They have 11,000 members. It's now attended by about 3,000 people. That's down significantly since they allowed you to get continuing education credits by going virtual. But that being, it's Phoenix in August this year. Last year it was
weather there.
Yeah, last year it was New Orleans in August. The year before that it was Houston in August, and the year before that it was Orlando in August. So if you're detecting a pattern here, big conference cities, but with maybe suboptimal temperature setup, depending on your point of view.
Right.
So ADCES, I think it's a reasonable statement to say we had the best attended booth on the floor. We had, I think we had a lot of inbound interest. We had a product theater with almost 200 attendees 2 hours after the show floor closed, so you had to kind of hang around. There was a wonderful moment, which I'll share now because it's worked out well, where, at 5:00, our presentation was at 5:30. At 5:00, they closed the doors. And if you've ever hosted a dinner party and your significant other is freaking out that no one's coming, there was a 30-minute period where everyone was wondering how many people are going to be on the other side of that door when they open it, and they opened it up, and there were more than 100 people in line, and more people filed in, and so we had great attendance.
Okay.
I think, so look, it's that is our audience. Diabetes educators understand that there is this other segment of users who want to adopt technology that is easier to learn, easier to manage, less full-featured. And they're the ones who suffer the pain of how complex and hard to use the current devices are, both from a form factor cost, and and complexity standpoint. So great audience for us, great time for us to learn about what exactly they're looking for in terms of how many features, what features are too much, what features do we still need to add in subsequent software revs, etc. But it was a really, really heartening experience in terms of feeling it out. The other thing we debuted at the show was our Level X game, pivot training game. So we have a video of this. If you go to the investor section of our website, I'll give you a little bit of history here. So Level X is a company that's now part of Relevate Media, which is a directed healthcare-oriented advertising company. But they were started by Sam Glassenberg, who was a former lead developer at LucasArts. If you know Star Wars games, he would have been one of the lead developers. And they have people who worked on Animal Crossing, Mario Party, Call of Duty, Halo, other games you've heard of. And so but they've tried to bring the video game, an entertaining gamified experience, to healthcare education. So they've done, robotic surgery training, orthopedic surgery training. Probably most interesting to me when we talked to them was they did a program with AstraZeneca to train 80-year-olds in Germany how to use an inhaler for COPD. So just if you think the oldsters can't use technology, let me tell you, with the right smartphone, with a smartphone and the right interface, they absolutely can. And that's really, and our product lends itself better than any other product in this space to that approach, because it doesn't have 100 configurations. It has 6.
Right.
And so we think that we think this is a great product for an experience that gives you, we're not trying to replace the clinician. You don't replace the educator in this situation. You give them a tool to help both screen patients, because if they can't play the game, they probably can't use the pump. honestly. And
So
then,
where is this game at? It's in the investor section. Where?
yeah, there's a video of the trailer we showed it we showed at the show. It was playable on the show floor for with 5 levels, which aren't the middle, which are the middle. They're not the beginning of the game. They're not the end of the game. They're 40 levels, so you wouldn't play all of them in the doctor's office when you're, trying to decide if you're going to use the pump. You would play like 5 or 6 and say, okay, I think I got this, and then it's going to be part of the app, so you can refer this to you can refer to it later on
Right, got it.
if you need it. But also the idea is, okay, I get the basic idea of the concept here, what I'm supposed to be doing in a fun and enjoyable way. And then the clinician comes over and says, okay, Tim, now let's put it on for real.
Right.
And so if you ever have to do level 2 support, you know what their first experience was with the pump. You can refer them back to, you might want to try playing levels 10 through 15 again, to refamiliarize yourself with this. But once again, it's not a replacement. It's just meant to make things easier because remember, reimbursement for training someone to use a pump is $51. If we can, and that's why it's almost always, 95+% of the time, it's done by the companies, right? They train.
Yep.
But we're trying to make it attractive for the clinician to train.
Right.
And if we can make that training experience
Fun.
and maybe 15 or 20 minutes of education time for them and 15 or 20 minutes of the patient, playing the pivot training game, that starts to get pretty interesting.
Yep.
So I do think this is a very different way of approaching things. And, is that going to be appealing to someone who loves all 1,300 features of their MiniMed 780G? Probably not, but that's probably not our audience anyway.
Right.
So I think it's another way for us to differentiate that we are easier to learn, simpler to use, and maybe have a more scalable way of going to market than our peers.
How long did it take them to put together your little game?
So they have some experience with this because Sam is really passionate about this area. And the reason he's really passionate about it is that, and I don't think he would mind me sharing this story, his daughter was diagnosed with type 1 during COVID.
Okay.
And so they couldn't get a clinician to come to their house and do the training. And so they had to do it virtually. As Sam would say, look, I have a pretty high degree in computer science from Stanford. And it took my wife and I 6 months to get this under control. In terms of management, these products are too hard to use. Let's find ways to make this more accessible and make this easier. So they've done a game called Level 1, which you can download for free on your app store if you want to see what kind of experience we're going to be offering. You can download it right now, Level 1 by Level X, which is called Level 1, a diabetes game. And basically the purpose of the game is to teach you, hey, you've just been diagnosed with diabetes and you need to start injecting insulin. Here's from the ground up how you do it and how you manage it. And so our full training game is obviously not playable yet. We think it'll be ready in December. There are a lot of similarities between the bolus part of Level 1 and what we showed on the show floor.
Okay.
From a programming perspective, it might even be the same thing with a different skin. Because it is sort of the same thing, right? When you're bolusing, instead of pulling out a needle and or an auto pen or filling up a syringe and stabbing yourself, you're just pushing the button on the pump. And so timing that bolus for before the food gets there, or the right time before the food gets there, not too far ahead, but not too soon, is an important skill to learn. So that's really what we're demonstrating on the floor. But remember, you're going to be better controlled anyway if you just get half your insulin from a basal drip. So that isn't covered in the 5 levels that we showed, but it will obviously be covered in the final training game.
Okay.
So we're really excited about it. I mean, I think it's another way to say, look, we're not going after the top 20% of users. I can't see what that is, but
I got the Level 1.
That looks like level 1. Yeah, good. Yeah, no, look, it's free. they've had, with no advertising at all, I believe they've had over 5,000 downloads already. We think it's a great project. I think it's a great fit for us too.
I think this is actually pretty damn creative, right? I think it's especially if you got kids that are being diagnosed with diabetes, right? I mean, this makes it a
Yep.
little more fun for them, a little more.
Yeah. Well, look, it's not just kids that like this style of entertainment. I mean, I can tell you that I have relatives who play games like this. I will confess that I had my two daughters, ages 17 and 14, play the beta version of the 5 levels, and um, one of them said that was fun, and the other one said, "Let me know when this is freely available because I'm not a person with diabetes, but I could use some, fairly straightforward, relaxed entertainment in a study break, and this seems like fun."
Yeah, no, this is pretty cool. I mean, I'm just going through it. They got all these different levels that you have to, I guess, practice, right?
Yeah.
Then they have all the
Yeah.
insulin.
Better for you to struggle with the app than to struggle with injecting insulin in real life.
You're right. Right. Daily challenges, complete all levels to unlock.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. And then they
Yeah.
carbs by memory, fast food, mastering the basics, sick days. It's a lot
Yeah,
of.
it's a great effort. Kudos to them for doing it. And I think they'll do a great job with the end version for Pivot.
You got to do something about the music. Drive me nuts.
Maybe we'll let you select your own music for the tutorial.
Yeah, because is there any rock and roll on here or what? Probably not, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, if available, maybe we could get like you can have your choice of like Van Halen or K-pop.
There you go. There you go. All right. So all in all, Jeb is feeling pretty good about where you're at.
I feel really good about the positioning of our product. I feel like, I mean, in the world of health insurance, they think of pumps in two categories, tubed and tubeless. And I think, if Pivot gets cleared, we'd be the only other tubeless pump on the market, along with Omnipod, which is obviously growing. I think they grew 27% year on year in the most recent quarter. I mean, they are killing it right now. And if you're going to compete with them, you've got to have products that are on the pharmacy benefit. And I don't think you can just be a me too.
Right.
You're going to get run over. You have to do something different and orient yourself towards a different audience. And there are things that are great about the Omnipod, and there are things that, we think we do better.
Right.
And
And
that's part of product
easier.
segmentation. Yeah. Yeah.
You do
Easy.
better, easier, and cheaper.
Yeah. Well, yes, eventually cheaper. Although, right now we have 0 users and they have what, like 400,000. So,
Right. Right. Right.
I think we could use a little bit of scale there. But yeah, so I'd say stay tuned. We're not going to be quiet the rest of the year. We're going to have a series of milestones. And I think we'll have a lot of flexibility where we go both domestically and overseas once we get the pivot clearance. Uh,
Where are you from a cash standpoint? Are you good?
uh, well, let's see. So where are we from a cash standpoint? So, we raised $12 million in March.
Yep.
Know that we committed to spend 5 million of that on high cavity count molds so that we could support up to 30,000 users without ordering any more molds and cut our cost of goods significantly. We ordered those molds, but all that cost $5 million and has an 11-month lead time. So we kind of had to do it. We had to do it then in order to be ready.
Okay.
So we really functionally, if you take that out, we raised $7 million. So I think we have enough to get to submission of pivot, but we don't have enough to get to clearance. So we'll have to do something on the small side sometime in the next few months.
Okay. And how long? Where is it at? Where's the stock right now?
About 70 cents.
So how long have you been below a buck?
Oh, so we announced on July 3rd that we had gotten you've been below a buck too long, and so we're on our 180-day clock with NASDAQ.
Okay.
Also worth noting that we meet every other requirement, so I believe we would get an automatic extension if we applied.
Okay.
But obviously, given that I still only make $1 doing this, I don't plan for this to stay below a buck. Uh, I think we're hoping that the market starts to appreciate the incredible asset that we have here, and that we've been as managing the cap structure as best we can, given that we've never crossed the baby shelf level, and the market cap is lower than I would like. I'd say I'm constantly noting that with my team that, like, look, we've got to be really efficient because we don't have the cost of capital that our competitors do. But at the same time, are we 10x more efficient in terms of our go-to-market strategy? I don't know. It would, a little help from the capital markets would be helpful.
Yeah. Maybe an interest rate cut would help too, maybe.
I mean, I think there are a lot of things that would help. Maybe someone just putting us in the same peer group as our peers.
That's a novel concept.
Isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
But look, nobody comes on the Alpha Wolf podcast to listen to me complain about my valuation. So
Well, you're right.
it's sort of up to you guys to figure that out.
Yeah,
What's
that
the
is
right
the case.
valuation? I think it's too low. I'll note that we gave everyone in the company an incentive program again, where they get an equity bonus if we submit Pivot by the end of October. And
Okay.
then they get another bonus if we get the manufacturing line for Pivot up and running in Q1 or by March. I think it's March 15th.
Okay.
This is all publicly disclosed. So they're incented the right way.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Note that there's nothing tied to an FDA action, because we learned our lesson last time where, there was an incentive for submission and an incentive for clearance. And we ended up having to redo that because guess what? The government doesn't move on its own timeline, or on our timeline. It moves on their own timeline.
They don't adjust
Yeah.
for you.
So anyway.
That's weird.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's interesting is from a technical standpoint, it looks like the stock is kind of put in a double bottom, and it's like nobody's in control of the stock right now. It's just kind of going sideways, right? You don't
Hmm?
have sellers, you don't have no bulls, no bears. It's just like in a wait and see mode, right?
Yep. Yep.
Now, you did just say that you're probably going to need to do a small raise. It's not going
Yep.
to be anything uh too painful, I would think. How many shares outstanding fully diluted right now, Jeff?
75.
75. So, and I consider anything.
But now I'm counting that counts 6 million warrants up at 660. So
So
if those are in the money and we want to talk about overhang resistance,
yeah.
bring it on. Bring it on.
So if those, what's the expiration on those?
Those were issued in 22, so I believe they run out to 27. I think.
Okay.
26.
All right. That would be
Let's not worry about that, right?
We don't need to worry about those.
I'd say the obviously the people most incented to tide us over here are existing holders. So, we'll see what we can do we'll see what we can do.
So if you ran into a potential investor in an elevator, right? What would be the pitch? What would be, hey,
well, let's see. Yeah. Why should you buy the stock now? Because that we've got one peer who has a product like us where we can have a product that's similar but different in many, many ways on the market, and their valuation is over $20 billion, and our valuation is 30 million. Medtronic tried to buy a rank knockoff of them which was far less capable than what we have, for 740 million 3 years ago. We had another entrant who has a form factor that, is much like a Medtronic, a tube-based pump, which went public in the first quarter of this year with 20,000 customers and got a $700 million pre. I don't know. We just exist in an alternate universe, I guess.
But you have,
But we have many catalysts coming up to lead people to rethink whether or not we're in this space, because we are going to be in this space.
right, right.
And whether or not that's as part of another entity or whether or not that's on our own remains to be seen.
And that piece right there, the whether or not maybe that could have played a role in where the stock is, right? I mean, because everybody seems to think that, well, Jeb doesn't want to run this thing forever. Jeb's, he just wants to sell it. So, but that doesn't change the value in my mind. If that doesn't
Well,
change
look,
the value,
I think we're willing to do whatever it takes to recognize to do what's best for the asset, and whether or not that's monetize it or run it, and when you monetize it is to be determined. I mean, look, if we bring in someone else who's going to run commercial for this thing, I'm fine with that too. If I think that's the best, if I and the shareholders think that's the best possible outcome for the situation.
one of the
I'll
big
just
unique differences for your product is this ease of use, right?
That's right.
So I
But
think
don't let the ease of use fool you. If you put a fancy automated insulin delivery algorithm from any one of our competitors on our device, within 6 months, they could be a patch pump with their AID on it. There's no reason that we can't. We are not less accurate. We are not less capable. We have a top flight processor. We have Bluetooth. We have NFC. We have power supply to burn to run someone's algo. We've just chosen to go after a segment that demands ease of use and less complexity. That doesn't mean we can't be a platform for someone else too.
well, I guess the point I wanted to try and make, and I'm happy that you brought that one up, but the point I'm trying to make is that right now you have a $51 rebate for your education.
Yep.
Most of these pump take, I mean, some of them take like a week to be able to
Yeah,
train
they
somebody
take
on,
days to learn. Yes, in
right?
person. Yep.
In person, week.
Yep.
Yours, literally, you can train them in a half hour,
Yep. We think so. Yep.
right? So
That's right.
a half hour with a $51 payment. I might try to set up a little business on that thing. Right?
Well,
It's $100. It's $102 an hour.
your average educator is making something like, probably 55 grand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not bad, right?
No. We want to create a financial incentive, but we want to make their lives easier too.
Right.
And
Making life easier for the clinician. You're making
yeah.
life easier for the patient,
Mhm.
right? And
Yep.
you're making it so the general practitioner can actually subscribe or write a script for a pump, right? I mean,
Yeah, there are huge numbers of people who are still seen by their PCP who could use a solution that the PCP is actually comfortable writing,
right.
rather than just losing the patient to a referral to the endo and I'll see you never. But that's assuming that there is even an endo in their area. 70, and we say this in our presentation, so I'm not telling you anything you can't figure out, but like 70% of the counties in the United States at this point now don't have a single endocrinologist. Not a one.
So that in itself helps explain the challenges of, or maybe explains why a vast majority of people that have diabetes aren't on a pump.
Yeah, well, it's access to training, it's access to knowledge, it's access to endos, it's access to a product that meets their needs in terms of complexity, cost, and form factor, or
Right.
any combination of those things.
Which
That
you
part of that part of the story hasn't changed. I mean, you walk around, there are two new entrants, Beta and Sequel, and I think they both Beta's probably the closest to us in terms of, you know, hey, you don't have to have top flight numbers, but we'll make things easier for you in terms of the algorithm that they put on top of their device. Sequel, I think, largely targets the same high-end population that the other pumps serve. So, you know, there's still all this white space out there for people who have different solutions that are positioned in a different way.
Right. Right.
That's where we
What I
fit.
like, what I like about your story is that it's simplistic across the board for everybody, which should make adoption, it should make it a short curve.
Yeah, at scale, we should be able to save the payers money. At scale, we should be able to save the patient money and effort, frankly, and also give them better clinical outcomes versus multiple daily injections. And we should be able to make the clinicians' lives easier too.
Right. And that's
That's
a
the
win-win. That's a win-win-win across
right.
the board.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's the whole thrust of our organization is to try and make all of these things simple and easy.
Yeah.
And
I
so,
mean, I get it, man. I get it. I love it. And I, you know, maybe the street's not, well, I'm not going to say maybe the street's not. The street is not valuing you guys for what you have accomplished. I think that's pretty clear. It's just that there are not a lot of people that are paying attention to it. And I don't know what the hiccup is here, why they don't get it, because it's pretty simple story to understand, right?
yeah.
Uh,
There might be some people who are frustrated that we didn't sell the thing as soon as the mod one got cleared. But I think, you know, now that I think the incumbents have made a bet for a very, very long time. For 15 years, they've made the bet that the startups either can't get cleared or get cleared with such a kludgy product that it's just not that interesting, or that they can't get funded to launch. And Beta Bionics and Sequel are proving that that's not true, right? Listen to Tandem's conference call, where they basically blame most of their problems on their two aggressive, well-funded competitors who frankly have no incentive to be profitable in the near term. And that's going to be a big problem for them, an ongoing problem for them. And, you know, I think that changes the calculus because those guys have gotten funded.
right.
These guys are launching and those guys are starting to take customers from the incumbents. And so, you know, I think that wasn't clear until Q1 this past year. And I think, you know, so I think it's a combination of recognizing, okay, maybe we can't just sit back and watch the world go by and just know that we're in an oligopoly of three. And, and I think they have a very specific shopping list. And I think more than I realized initially, because I mean, you know, as I said, we always intended to get rid of the tube and go to this. That
When do
might
you,
that might be more of a requirement in terms of de-risking from a regulatory perspective than we initially realized.
right.
But we're going to have all those technical milestones of can you make a bunch of these? Can you get rid of the tube? Is it 3 mLs? Is it removable? Does it have the right chip, et cetera? All that stuff is going to be in the rearview mirror for us, hopefully by, you know, sometime in Q1.
So the full, when do you anticipate a full launch of the new of the pivot product? I mean, when do you think
Q1.
that happens?
Q1.
Q1 for sure.
Yeah. Now, when I say full, look, I don't know that this product does terribly well for people who live within a mile of Mass General Hospital where I used to live, right? Like if you look at a practice at MGH, you might find very, very high pump usage. Um, I think this product will do well in other urban environments, and I think it will do well in suburban and rural environments. But you know, we don't want to spread ourselves so thin that we launch everywhere in the United States and then just see where the chips fall. We want to launch in a few select geographies where we have good insight that the payers appreciate what we're doing, that the clinicians appreciate what we're doing, that there's a big unmet need, and that we can get traction with and show the leverage.
So just your take from the show that you just attended.
Yep.
You got the sense that there's people that are excited about what you're doing.
I'll go a little further than that. I've never met a diabetes educator that I've spoken to for more than 5 minutes who doesn't immediately say, "Oh, I get it. Yes, I have patience for that." They all do. Their initially their reaction sometimes is, Oh, you don't have an AID yet? Oh, you don't have all the CGM integration and all the bells and whistles. Well, there's no one for you. It's a little weird. Um, clinicians in this space sort of fall into two buckets, and they're both well-meaning. One group of clinicians is like, I want to get patients the best possible care that I can get them to motivate to do and that they're up for from a technical perspective, right? So it's
Yeah.
motivation, technical perspective, and their own unique challenges. Okay. And then there are other clinicians who are like, I'm not sure if I'm going to bother if you're not going to do everything. But you know what? Even if that's your attitude, you still know on some level that you have patients like this
Right.
that can use a solution like this. And a lot of and look, our audience isn't just the diabetes educators. Like they're really important, but as gatekeepers, and they're really important to the current industry. And I'm always surprised at how few Wall Street people I see at that show. But there are so many patients at primary care who don't have access to an endocrinologist and who aren't going to have access to an endocrinologist for a long time. And we really need to, and we need to have
And
products
this
for
is
that.
going to help them. This is going to
Yeah,
help. It's
yeah.
going to be
When
an
you
option.
ask the diabetes educators, they say usually they say something along the lines of, "I have patients for this, but the PCPs really need something like this."
All right. Anything else, Jeff? I mean,
No, this has been
what
great.
what should investors be watching? What would be the things that they would want to see to know that you're executing the plan?
You'd want to see that we do this small clinical trial with clinicians from MODD just to prove that we can put it on more than one person in later August, early September. You can expect to see us commission the controller line in late September, early October. You can expect us to launch MODD in October for 3 to 5 practices just to get some real life experience. You can expect us to file Pivot in early Q4. And, we're exploring other things as far as, where else can we take this in the world? And then the only other wild card I would just mention is, look, this pump is capable of more than just delivering insulin. It's a platform. People have followed us doing our little rodent study with the GLP-1, et cetera. There might be some other areas where we might be able to, where there might be someone who has an interest in using our pump for something else.
And that would be a nice little. That would be a kind of an unexpected but nice little add-on event, right?
Yes. Yep. Yep. Yeah. It depends. It depends on the partner as far as where you are on the speculation range versus the opportunity. But Insulet has made a really good amount of money selling basically the same version of their pump, no selling cost to Amgen to deliver a cancer drug, an oncology drug for years. There's no reason that we couldn't do something along those lines, albeit probably not in oncology.
Right. Got it.
So,
Okay.
okay.
All right, Jeb. You feel as though I missed anything else?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we'll have more to talk about if we get together in late September.
Okay. All right, man.
All right.
Hold on a second. I'm going
All
to
right.
shut this off.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us with another CEO interview here at Alpha Wolf Capital. Today we had Jeb Besser from Modular Medical Devices, ticker symbol MODD. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor, give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, make sure you smash that subscribe button. All of those things are extremely important to us here at Alpha Wolf Capital, and we appreciate you taking the time to do that. Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Capital wishes you the very best of success.